So it's been a few days since the Kenobi finale came out, and I thought it was absolutely incredible. It was an amazing finale, and to be honest, I don't think there was, obviously with every episode or show, there is going to be some downsides to it, and personally I thought there were more ups than downs in this finale. I really thought this was a great episode, probably the best of them all. I love the contrast in this, and what they used. They used a lot from Rebels as well, and I really enjoyed it. But I'll do a review of Kenobi soon. Now we can obviously go into it. It's been a few days, so obviously spoiler alert for Kenobi show, because it's going to be about the fight between them two. So yeah, if you don't want spoilers, don't watch this, or watch Kenobi then come back and watch this. And yeah, so in the Kenobi show, Vader and Kenobi obviously fought for the last time before they obviously fight each other again in A New Hope. So when they see each other 10 years later, but there is rumoured to be a season 2, which I'll probably dive into a different video. I'll dive into it in a different video about a season 2, about what they could do for it, and I really hope that it isn't about Vader. I really hope they don't meet again, because it wouldn't make sense if they fought again. I just don't think it'll be good for the canon, because as people have been saying, this show has kind of broken canon a little bit, and I can see what people mean. But yeah, if they do a season 2, which I'm all for, I think they could do a lot of a season 2, but at the end with Qui-Gon and stuff. But I think they need to keep Vader out of the equation for a season 2. I just think they can't break canon. In Rebels, how Maul dies 5 years after the events of the Kenobi show, so they could potentially do something with that near the end of the series. They can make that into live action, maybe go into that more. But yeah, today's video is about Vader's fight with Kenobi. Now, obviously, this was an amazing fight, absolutely incredible. And in this fight, we see, obviously, it's very similar to the fight we see in Twilight of the Apprentice in Star Wars Rebels. It's very, very similar. And I thought it was very cool how they did that. There was so many callbacks and references to that episode that Vader, Vader saying you will die, the other side of the mask coming off, because obviously in Rebels, Ahsoka takes off Vader's right side of the mask, I'm pretty sure, and then in this Kenobi takes off the left side. So it's pretty cool to see. And yeah, I'm going to be going over the main reason, the big reason why Vader lost in this, why he lost in this episode, and why he doesn't seem as powerful as he is in A New Hope, in the original trilogy, and what he may seem like in Rebels and Rogue One. It's I think it's pretty obvious. That's why it's probably going to be. This will probably be a short video. I think it's pretty obvious to people why he is so weak, and that is because there is conflict in him. Anakin Skywalker is still there. There is still a lot of Anakin Skywalker. Like Palpatine said at the end, he said that his feelings for his old master make him weak. And obviously Vader said that he only serves the Emperor and stuff, but he wants Kenobi dead, and obviously Vader wants to continue trying to find him. In Star Wars Rebels, when they find out that Ahsoka's still alive, when Vader finds out Ahsoka's alive, Vader goes, he is still trying to find Kenobi. He's still looking for him 5 years later, because he's angered by him. He, like in this episode when he screams Obi-Wan at the end, I thought that links to Maul screaming it as well. I thought that's a very big competition between them two as well. But yeah, I think, the conflict in Vader, Anakin is still there. You can see Anakin still there. His eyes were blue before. he was smiling as well, but obviously I think that was more of a menacing and psychotic smile more than a happy smile. But yeah, his eyes were blue before. And then when he started speaking about Anakin, when he said Anakin is gone and he is all that's left now, that's when his eyes turned back to Sith yellow. Anakin is still in there more than he is in Rogue One, A New Hope, stuff like that, and obviously 5 years later in Rebels, Anakin's still there. There's still a bit of Anakin, and I think that's what makes him weaker, because he's still conflicted and he's still torn between the two. Vader is still in control of the two, but I think Anakin is still, trying. He's lurking. He's still in there, as we know in the original trilogy. Anakin was never gone. He was kind of just behind Vader in his shadow. So yeah, that's what made him weak. Obviously, not only that as well, obviously Vader, it's been 10 years, so he's obviously used to it, but it's hard to get used to. He can in Legends, he can barely lift his arm over his head, and he had to get used to it a lot. His arm, obviously in the prequel trilogy he had his hand cut off, or his arm cut off, and he had to get a robotic one. And in the books, it says that his hand used to lag a lot, like his robotic hand used to lag a lot. So imagine that happening to all of his limbs and his whole body, because he is mostly robotic after Revenge of the Sith. So as Vader, so it makes it harder for him. It makes it harder for Vader to fight his old master. And obviously, as we can see in this episode, as the show went on, Obi-Wan was gaining his power back, his strength that we saw in Revenge of the Sith. He wasn't as powerful as he was in Revenge of the Sith, but you can see that he gained his power back at the end with that fight against Vader, because he absolutely destroyed him. And that did fix canon. It did tie into A New Hope pretty nicely when Vader goes, when I last met you, I was the master. No, I was the learner, but obviously he's now the master, and then obviously Kenobi goes, "You're only a master of evil, Darth." So, and calling him Darth in this episode as well. Obi-Wan, he has that now, that the guilt's kind of gone for him now. Because obviously when Vader said to him that Anakin, it wasn't Obi-Wan's fault. It was Anakin that killed. Well, it was Vader that killed Anakin. It wasn't Obi-Wan. I think that kind of took a weight off Kenobi's shoulder, and the guilt kind of gone. The guilt will never leave him about Anakin training him. Obviously, he was his master. He was Anakin's master, and it was like his brother. And I don't think the guilt will ever leave him. But I think most of the guilt has been lifted off his shoulder, because it's kind of like he now knows that this is what Anakin or Vader wants. This is what he wants to be now, and there's nothing else he can kind of do other than hope for the future of Luke and Leia. And obviously, obviously Obi-Wan could have killed him then, but I don't think obviously he could, and he didn't have the strength to kill him. He couldn't come to kill him, his old apprentice and his brother. So yeah, that is the main reason why I think Vader lost, is because of the conflict inside of him, the conflict inside of Vader. Obviously, I'm not saying Vader is weak in this episode, because he is not. You see how powerful he is, like the powers he was like the stuff he was doing in this episode. He was destroying the ground with the Force. He put boulders on top of Obi-Wan. So I'm not saying he's weak, because he definitely is not. He's very powerful, and he could probably, and obviously in the future he does kill Obi-Wan. Obviously, I think Obi-Wan probably could defeat him again if they fight again. Obviously, which I hope they don't. But yeah, I personally think this episode was absolutely incredible, and the fight was because I think Vader ultimately lost because of the conflict of Anakin Skywalker still in him. But yeah, tell me what you think about that. Obviously, I love the bit where the mask came off and Obi-Wan saw Vader's half of his face, and his eyes did go blue, and there was Anakin there for a slight second before retreating back into Vader. So yeah, tell me what you guys thought of this episode. I thought it was absolutely incredible. Tell me what you thought about their fight as well. I thought it was really good. And there will be a review about the Kenobi show, and obviously the finale as well. I'll do a more in-depth review of that very soon. So if you did enjoy this video today, please like and subscribe. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.